Chair, the next topic that I want to move to is the promotion of Brigadier Mkhwanazi, and it's an issue that we traversed briefly yesterday with Mrs. Gxasheka with reference to documents that are attached to the Mashiza bundle. And the promotion documents they start at page 59 actually 58 of the annexure bundle, to Dr. Mashazi. I had merged two witnesses. It's late in the day and in the week. I apologize. So it's page 58 of the Mashazi bundle, and through to pages, and then the next document is 59 to 62. And 58 is the... Certainly, sorry.
May the attorneys please assist Mrs. Gxasheka. Mr. Shaskalson, you'll you'll please take us through what you want to. Oh yeah.
And I'd like to take it. Thank you. It is a document dated 24 October 2023. I'll come back to the date a little later. It's an interview summary and recommendation for a panel for the appointment of Deputy Chief of Police Operations and Specialized Services. The date is 24 October 2023. So that is after the restructuring of disciplinary matters, and it's after the instruction in relation to the forensic report. And in that context, Brigadier Mkhwanazi applies for promotion. And can you take us through this document, because it's not clear to me. I see you were on the panel. I see Chief Mapie was on the panel. There's a Ms. Zanele Katembo, who also appears to have been on the panel. Who is she?
Your mic, please.
Zanele Katembo was an HOD for Shreka, that it's sports, recreation, arts and culture. That was her role, I think, at that time. Thank you, Chair.
And Advocate Behari was also on the panel, although it seems that he wasn't present at the interview. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And there was someone from HR Secretariat, but she didn't play a role in the interviews. The upshot of the interview was that a recommendation was made that Brigadier Mkhwanazi should be promoted to the post of Deputy Chief of Police Specialized Services. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, I simply want to ask you, in a context where charges of the nature that had been laid against Brigadier Mkhwanazi were still out there, hadn't been resolved, why did you see fit to recommend him for promotion to a more senior position?
As I say, by that time, it was clear that the process of the DC is not going to continue. And obviously the employee has been exonerated, given a letter that the process is not continuing.
Sorry, can I interrupt there? The employee was never exonerated. No one ever said you have been found not guilty of any of these charges. At best, what happened was that the process of proceeding with the charges was frustrated through a series of, well, at best, gross inefficiencies, at worst, deliberate sabotage. There was no exoneration.
I'll rephrase. Remember, this is an employee who's sitting with a letter that says we're no longer continuing with the investigation process and whatever.
But sorry, can I take you up? Sorry, can I come in there as well? Because that letter says we're no longer continuing with the investigation process. But in fact, the investigation process had been finished by then. There was the investigation was over. What was now needing to happen was a disciplinary hearing. There's no need for further investigation, just for a hearing to take place.
Yes, he was also told, go back to your substantive post, continue with your work. So firstly, for the employee to apply the position, the understanding is that this DC is not continuing. And at that time, there was no disciplinary hearing that is continuing. As I said, based on my initial testimony, my earlier testimony, and the legal opinion, if it was then done by then, I can't recall. So we could not prejudice the employee in this particular time. Hence, he applied as well, like everybody else.
Sorry, which legal opinion said that you could not proceed I think it was October 2023.
As I say, if I recall events, there was a legal opinion, I think we discussed it, that said there are no fraud issues against him. Maybe it's the way I'm putting it. So at this point in time, the mere fact that we continue, there was no disciplinary process that is continuing. Check. Thank you.
You see, whether or not there was a disciplinary process pending is a separate question from whether this applicant is a fit and proper person for this promotion. And I struggle with the notion that someone against whom allegations of that nature have been leveled and have reached the point of proceeding to a hearing only for a charge sheet not to be served is fit and proper to be a deputy head of police. So what's your response to that?
I hear the inference on your side. On my side, in terms of the procedure, there was no DC that was happening, and therefore there will be no reason to say we are not shortlisting you because you are not meeting, there's a pending DC, because clearly there was no pending DC.
There was a directive by IPID that he should be charged. And that directive is binding on the city of Ekurhuleni. So,
I didn't see it that time.
But you say the opinion exonerated him. That opinion is the opinion that said IPID must be disregarded. Which other opinion are you referring to?
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes, so that's why I'm saying there was a directive by IPID And that opinion was responding to the directive. So you cannot say there was nothing pending. There was a pending directive by IPID. The fact that Ekurhuleni did not comply with it does not mean there was no pending directive by IPID that Mkhwanazi should be disciplined.
I hear you, Chair. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Gxasheka, the question still, Mr. Chaskalson's question still stands that the disciplinary process is not complete. It's not shut down, not by the letter from Chief Mapiyeye, because as Mr. Chaskalson says, he speaks of an investigation. You then recommend the candidate. And the question is how in your judgment is it appropriate for you in particular to recommend such a candidate for a promotion to Deputy Chief of Police on such serious charges?
Chair, thank you. I'm still saying that at that point in time, halted or suspended the DC, it would have been a prejudice not to give him an opportunity to complete with other candidates.
The issue is not why did you interview him, because competing with other candidates is at interview stage. I mean, even the worst of, we've got a list, so I need to explain what I'm going to say next. We know from your vetting results, that some people were found to be rapists, but they're in the employ of the city. So even that person who is found to be a rapist, when they apply, you would have looked at, do they meet the requirements for shortlisting, right? And then you would shortlist them. And that's a fair for them to come and justify to the panel why they are suitable for appointment. So we are past that. You've shortlisted. You, head of HR, are aware that there are these unresolved charges, serious charges against this individual. How do you make the judgment that it's appropriate to recommend him for appointment?
My judgment, Chair, was based on procedurally. I thought it's fair to give, if there's a halt or stopped DC, you give a candidate an opportunity like everybody else. If indeed at some point you are found guilty, you will always be dismissed.
No, he was never going to be found guilty because the city manager has given you an instruction. Remember that earlier conversation? Yes. So you say the city manager gave an instruction, and that's why that explains your inactivity about further disciplinary steps. So that has ended, but he's never been exonerated of these serious charges. He's never been. Here's the HOD of Human Resources. The what do you call it? The one who gives direction, supposedly, on matters of discipline and how people should behave and what is tolerable behavior. You recommend his promotion. That is a problem. Do you accept that?
I said, Chair, that it is an oversight. We could have done better. I advise on the other side that procedural. In fact, it's just that the reason I don't want even to talk to it because it was not recorded. I said after the shortlisting, because no employee at EMPD met the requirements, it was only these two. I then said, let's not proceed. Let's re-advertise. And because we already didn't extend the contract of Mr. Mzolo, the chief pushed that we do interviews. And I think when you go for interviews, you might anticipate a particular outcome if you want to. But interviews will always surprise you. And then once it's recorded and we made this recommendation, it's difficult to go back. If we could have restarted the process, maybe we won't be here. But I'm taking full accountability that I should have stopped the process when I said, let's stop the process.
Yeah. Well, we're at a point where you did not stop the process.
Yes.
You interview, you know the problem about this candidate. You recommend, you do a positive act. You're saying he's suitable for the position. That's what this conversation is about. So
Yes.
It's not oversight at all. It doesn't fall in the category of oversight. It would be oversight if you didn't know that there were these accusations against him, or you were mistaken about something, right? Here, you know this is unresolved. There's serious allegations against him. And we do have evidence here where EMPD conducted an investigation. And you would have seen that. You know that, as Commissioner Khumalo says, you know that IPID has directed that he should be disciplined. You have testified that, well, it was frustrated / there were instructions. Now we come to you personally. Why do you recommend such a defective candidate whose defects are known to you, are recorded in a charge sheet? How do you, head of HR,
The process
say, he can be promoted, he's suitable for the position?
The process was halt, and the employee competed with other candidates, and we shortlisted, we interviewed, and he did well on that interview. I agree that in terms of the character, we could have done better, and I'm taking full accountability that we could have done better. But the process is on its own. It's not even a process that is made only by myself. It's a process that is made by the panel. As much as I've advised, and I'm taking full responsibility, I'm not going to say I'm instructed in this one. If there were instructions, they were not given to me. The only thing that we did was to score, and the person who scored him higher, and therefore was recommended.
So is it fair to say that you saw nothing wrong? The short answer, at that time, now with hindsight, maybe you say, well, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. Maybe that's what you're saying. I don't know if that's what you're saying, but I'm asking, in the moment when you recommend that he's suitable for promotion, you did not see any problem with that? You considered him...
It was a red flag. It was a red flag. And as I say, I think what was left is how you debate it. Remember, at the time, as much as I can recall, there was not even a criminal record against him, but there were pending allegations against him. And unfortunately, we didn't get to test them to the end.
No, you may not have tested them as a panel. And the conversation really, we've had the same conversation with Chief Mapie and raised our concerns about his own conduct with this interview, rather with recommending Commissioner Mkhwanazi. It's exactly the same concern with you. And this is not a panel concern. It's a concern about you individually, you as a person who knows the problems that have been raised about this candidate, who knows that there's either an aborted disciplinary process or suspended disciplinary process, whatever language you choose for it. He's never been exonerated, and you have to accept that. I think you've accepted that yes. He was never exonerated of these serious charges. You sit there and you determine he's fit and proper, notwithstanding he's fit and proper to be promoted to the position. That's a difficulty I have with you, about either it's a sign of poor judgment on your part, at least from where I'm sitting, or it's something more serious, that you were prepared, because it's Mkhwanazi, you were prepared to overlook the problems, the red flags, that you use your language about him, you overlooked them because it is Mkhwanazi, or you simply failed in your job to properly assess a candidate.
Chair, I think the inferences sometimes are biased, and because it's based on a particular situation at a given point. My judgment would have been based on that. The allegations have not been fully tested. and until you are found guilty, you are innocent. I think where Ekurhuleni we failed, I'm still going to agree, is how poorly we managed the matter of Mr. Mkhwana's. If it was well managed, again, won't be here. If the DC continued timelessly and charges were served, maybe even he could have been exonerated and won't be here still, or will be here for a different narrative.
Aren't you being unfair to the other people, considering that you explain your inaction to pursue this disciplinary process on the basis that you were given an instruction? And when it suits you, you say it's the fault of the other people. It can be both. It's you were given an instruction, you have told us, and you've tried to explain it by saying the atmosphere in the room was clear that the city manager doesn't want this disciplinary hearing to proceed, and your position was informed by that. So you acted. You explain your inaction in this aborted disciplinary process by saying there was an instruction from the city manager, and then when it comes to the others, you say, had they done things on time, it would have happened. But if we go with your version, this DC was never going to happen because there was an instruction.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, if you follow events, if we acted within the 3 months, we might have a different narrative. Chief of Police submit a tribunal request for a tribunal to take place in March already, I think around the 23rd of March. HRER division says, I'm applying my mind. IPD says, we can get these people arrested, so I don't want to spend money on attorneys. Come now while we're waiting. 24th of May is there. This matter is taken again by HR and EMPD, HRER division, to the accounting officer, and the accounting officer says, all of you put this thing to rest. Now what I'm saying, Chair, is the charges remained not fully tested. It remained allegations because they were not fully tested in the sense that go to the DC and have the outcome. And I thought the principle of law, but if I'm wrong, I'm learning today. You are innocent until you are found guilty. I think I was fearful of the fact that now that we continued, if we don't appoint him, he might take us on. You hide documents, they find them. I'm telling you, if Mr. Mkhwanazi found this document, let's say we withdraw that, we didn't see he's gonna perform in this interview, we say let's withhold and not fill the position, and he get hold of this document. I don't know if we went to courts how it was gonna be. I might have not understand the principles of law, but I've learned a lot from this commission. And I think the person will continuously improve themselves and improve myself wherever I'm going. I've learned a lot. That my judgment, Chair, I'm saying the red flag is there. But when I'm thinking of the rule that says you are innocent until you are proven guilty, I could have done and consolidated those two statements or notions and come with a better judgment.
I want to suggest to you that it's not available to you or open to you to rely on that principle of innocent until proven guilty if you contributed to the disciplinary hearing not happening. It's not open to you. You can't have it both ways. You can't agree with the frustration of a disciplinary process and then later on rely on that it didn't happen and say, well, I couldn't hold it against him. It's a correct principle of law that you are quoting, but it's not available to you.
Chair, if you can clarify when you say I contributed to the disciplinary hearing not taking place, so that I can able to answer in terms of my role.
On your version, you followed Dr. Masha's unreasonable instruction not to discipline Commissioner Mkhwanazi. You followed that instruction, and it's unreasonable because the charges are serious. A charge sheet has been prepared. Things are at a point there may have been delays, but you are aware there's a charge sheet. It was at a point of being issued. It didn't get issued. You've seen the content of it. You know that IPID has directed that there should be a disciplinary, and you know that if you've seen the opinion that you're seeking to rely on, which we say doesn't say what you wanted it to say. If you've seen that opinion, because it does say what IPID has said. So if you read that opinion, you know that IPID has directed disciplinary proceedings, right? So you know all of that. You follow, and notwithstanding, you follow an instruction from the city manager that says, don't discipline. You follow an unreasonable instruction. So when I say you contributed, I'm saying your inaction or your readiness to follow an unreasonable, maybe even unlawful instruction from the city manager, you contributed to the DC not running. And so you can't say, well, now when it's time for interviews, I thought the DC, there was no DC against him, when you had a hand in it not happening.
Chair, I get your context, Commissioner, that when I got to find out about this matter in August 2023, the way I think the report is being read, the one of the forensic report, and I'm not sure if we must go there. I'll still stand by my conviction that in my report, if it's read in its entirety, I will never agree that I fully complied with the instruction. If the instruction says you stop this DC, you don't continue on anything. And I get the notion and the premise that says, no, you guys were looking at labor cost. But I'm still appealing to the Commission that maybe the report is read once more. And as I say, my intention in the reports and some of the allegations in that report should be read the way I intended to have this matter dealt with. I get the situation where we speak about the comma and the full stop. But I'm still saying when you read allegation 4, where it says disciplinary matter relating to Julius Mkhwanazi was not properly managed by the city, it has a comma. After that comma, it goes and say, then it also resulted to unnecessary legal cost. I'm taking that. While I'm taking the brunt that we shouldn't have been here, but I still appeal to the Commission that the notion, you will make your determination, but the notion that says we're trying to protect Mkhwanazi, I don't think it was necessarily the case. We could have done things better. And you are right when you say the instruction could have been done, not observed and done differently. And I thought my approach to perpetually seek information about this matter and my intuition that says you cannot let this matter rest. And the latest where everybody stopped. My last acting on this matter, it was in October 2025. Nonetheless, decisions are made, by those who are listening and how they hear matters. I hear you, Commissioner, that I contributed for not having the matter to sit. It only said when Dr. Mashaz is gone. I take that. Nonetheless, again, I'm going to say during the time I was dealing with the matter, my notion on the events is Ekurhuleni have not tested the allegations. Therefore, it's difficult to say the employee is not going to compete, and we could have still done better. I'm taking that, but I'm still appealing that hopefully when you look at this matter in its entirety, we will see how the outcomes come out. And also one can say that this is a process where continuous improvement are going to be taken seriously, and we can do better next time. It's just difficult to agree that you just fully contributed, you had an intention not to discipline. It might look that way, but I want to say it was never my intention. Thank you.
And it's not a case of just Julius Mkhwanazi being protected. It's a case of him also being advanced because he was promoted. And with that promotion, there was you motivating that his salary be increased by 200,000 rands. So it wasn't just being protected at the position where he was. It was a case of you knowing that there were serious allegations because the forensic people who conducted the forensic investigation, they say one of the documents given to them is the charge sheet, which means by August you knew what the charges were against Julius Mkhwanazi. In October, when you support his promotion, you are aware that IPID independently has found that he's guilty of fraud and corruption and must be charged internally. And knowing those things, you still say this person is suitable for promotion to Deputy Chief of Police and an even better salary, some 200 plus over and above what he earned before. Now that is serious.
Let me make a correction. I'm not sure when I got to know about the IPID reports and the legal opinion. I said earlier on I didn't have the dates, but one thing that came to my attention in August, it was obviously the charges and the stopping of the DC, and I said already I'm taking grant of that. We could have made better judgment. Despite that there were instructions that were made, we could still have made better judgment. On the promotion, I'm still going to say that when the charges are not proven, it becomes difficult if you already shortlisted and recommended the person for a promotion. On the issue of the salary, on the issue of the salary review, when an employee is an permanent employee, has got certain benefits, employer contribution. So when you count the breakdown, it becomes different. And when you now put them on a total cost, when you FTC, you are putting a total cost. And number two, what we normally consider is the issue of the risk embedded, that now we are on a 5-year contract. Deputy Chief of Police Mkhwanazi was not the only person who has requested his salary to be looked at when he becomes a divisional head, convert from permanent to be divisional head. Majority of divisional heads, if I'm not mistaken, they do make that submission. And it does get considered. I'm sure 99% of them. And one thing we've picked up as an anomaly in the city is that the gap between the senior executive manager and the divisional head, the salary. In fact, in other instances, the senior executive manager will earn more than a divisional head. It's an anomaly that we're dealing with right now. So his salary review, it goes with a promotion that we could have done better. But again, you could not prejudice him in terms of the salary review. As I say that, even River Spears got a salary review. Kolani Ngeza got a salary review. I got a salary review. And so many people. And I say main issue, it must be noted, is because of the overlap in the salaries between that lower level and the divisional head. What I remain with allegations, I got to know about them in August. October we did interview, but they were not concluded. And we're learning from that we shouldn't have even shortlisted, we should not even interviewed I did say let's re-advertise. But because Chief didn't want to extend Mzolo, if you check the events, the way I was trying to assist, I'm saying in November, I think we shortlisted in September, we interviewed in October, I can't remember now the dates. In November, I'm saying, Chief, let's extend. Because there's so many processes to be followed. Even the forensic process, Chair, I wouldn't have known it will take that long. So I have this thing that if maybe we did extend the contract of Mr. Mzolo, maybe again we won't be here, Chair.
Can I stop you there, because I think the question was limited. Now you are dealing with issues you've already dealt with. My last point on this issue is that you will recall that there was that meeting of 18 August 2023, and arising from that meeting was that document that you prepared, which now conferred upon you the power to institute disciplinary proceedings, because it was no longer NISA. The city manager had said, you're not managing your department properly. These cases are not managed correctly. The power was now yours to say, I've looked at this charge sheet. These charges are serious. I know they were withdrawn before, but I think these charges should be pursued. It was within your powers to start that process, and you did not do so. Am I correct?
Chair, I'm gonna repeat what I said. Despite that, instructions were made, and it's a pity that we're not understanding each other, and I'm taking that. I've never not continue pursuing this matter, despite how it sounds like I pursued it. And I'm not going to go again and read that allegation that I read with a comma, that surely I was talking to Mkwanazi. While talking to Mkwanazi, I also talked to the legal costs. Chair, I still want to convince the Commission that I've never stopped. Let me ask
you a simple question. What stopped you in September 2023? You were looking at the charge sheet, you had it. What stopped you from serving it on Julius Mkwanazi and saying, Julius, these charges are serious, you must answer them? What stopped you?
I've answered that, Chair, where I've said that based on the instruction that was given, it stopped.
You followed the instruction.
And when after that, I've said, Chair, when we changed the delegations, I knew that this cannot end here. Now I'm fully responsible for it. Hence, I instituted a investigation, a forensic investigation. I'm really trying to be as slow as possible. They said yesterday I was on 220 kilometers.
Mrs. Gxasheka, can I stop you there? There's no need to be slow. You have now actually, in giving the answer, accepted that in terms of the delegation, after August, you could charge Julius Mkwanazi. You didn't need a forensic investigation for that. You had the charge sheet in front of you. There was an investigation report. You did not need a forensic investigation that takes a year to conclude. You could say, these charges are serious, Julius Mkwanazi. They were withdrawn because Mapiea said he was pressured. I now have the power in terms of this delegation. I'm serving you this charge sheet. I want you to answer to these charges, because this is an HR matter that falls within my jurisdiction.
The engagement of August, Chair, I've said that instructions were given. The appetite was very clear. Despite that, there was an instruction and the appetite that we will stop this process. I still went and said, let's look as what actually happened on this matter. And while that was happening, recommendations were made, and the recommendations that were made are putting us to be here now. Saying I didn't act, I might not have expected the way Commission expected the standard of an HOD, HR would have happened. But on my competency and how I know myself, I did the best of my ability. And it could still be done better. I don't think anybody is perfect in any world. And hence I've said we all taking blame that we could have done better here. All I'm saying, Chair, while everybody else stopped, that must be noted. I never stopped. How the report is read, I'm still appealing. Let's read it in its entirety before you make a final discussion on this matter. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mrs. Gxasheka, I want to raise a slightly different take on this issue. When I look at that promotion panel and their recommendations, and particularly the fact that both you and Chief Mappieri recommended the promotion, it seems to me that part of what was tainting that process was fear. And it seems to me that there were two possible fears that members of that panel confronted. The one was the fear of Brigadier Mkhwanazi, and you've spoken about that in your statement. You mentioned that when the issue was first raised with you in February, the chief said to you very quickly, you were wanting to discuss the evidence, and all he could talk about was how dangerous Brigadier Mkhwanazi is, and you got scared, and you wanted a threat and risk assessment, and he didn't give you the threat and risk assessment. So it seems to me that if you were scared in February, you would have been scared in in October. Is that a fair proposition to put to you?
I'm not sure if I hear you properly, Evidence Leader. You're saying if I wasn't scared in February, I wouldn't be scared in August? No.
If you were scared in February when you were first told about Brigadier Mkhwanazi, there's no reason to believe that you would have stopped being scared by the time you were on the panel, not in August, in October. Were you still afraid of this man in October?
Not really, Chair. If you remember how the process ran, in the shortlisting, the candidate doesn't even know that he's going to be shortlisted. And he never contacted me and say, shortlist me. If you don't, I'm going to have issues. I really, on this one, I'm not even going to blame certain circumstances beyond that. My judgment would have been poor. I've never had a discussion with Mkhwanazi on this particular process. The only person I had a discussion with...
Can you please try to be brief, at least with some of your answers? As I understand the question, is it October, were you still afraid of Brigadier Mkhwanazi?
Okay. The risk assessment was never done. So I didn't know if I'm safe or I'm not safe. As much as I don't recall when we're shortlisting there, I thought of that. Maybe let me put it that. But the most important thing to be known, to date, there's never been a risk assessment done to my life. I'm still waiting for that. Maybe one day I will find it, and we're hoping that will live longer. But I don't remember considering that part. Probably subconsciously, I could have thought of if we don't shortlist him, what is going to happen. But at the shortlisting level, one thing I remember was to say, let's re-advertise. And in November, again, I said, why don't we extend Mr. Mzolo's contract? Subconsciously, it can happen, and you make decisions because subconsciously your mind is thinking of something else. Thank you.
I won't push that further, but the last issue that I have to put to you is that this afternoon, this morning, Makosi Makamba saw your testimony, and she's given us an affidavit this afternoon that I have to put to you. So can I get you copies, and can I get copies for the Commission.
Sorry, Mr.
Has it been?
Chairperson. No, it hasn't, and I was about to raise an objection to the document that the evidence leader is about to show it to the witness.
You've not had sight of it?
I've never had sight of it. It's for the first time that I hear about this document as he is busy leading now.
How many pages is it, Mr. Shelson?
It's 4 pages.
4 pages. And you say it's the last issue you're going to raise?
It is the last issue I'm going to raise. It's a very simple proposition. It relates to the tender, and Ms. Makamba, whose name was on the bid document as the contact point, said that the witness removed her from any role in the tender and took charge of the tender herself, essentially. I mean, it's that proposition.
Thank you, Mr. If it's only 4 pages, 10 minutes would be enough, Ms. Mabula?
Yes, 10 minutes will be fine, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Let's adjourn for 10 minutes.
I get that.
Ms. Mabula, we may proceed on this now, eh?
Mr. Chairperson, I have an objection for this document to be used. As for now, I would like to highlight some few aspects. Why do I have an objection in using this document? This document that was just given to us now, and we're told that it's in a form of an affidavit. It's not a proper affidavit. The reason why I say so, Your Worship, Mr. Chairperson, it's fine. The reason why I say so, it is because we don't know the author of this document.
What do you mean by that?
The reason what I mean by that is that, Mr. Chairperson, it doesn't, at page 5, at the end of this document, it's the page 5 is the last document, is the last page. There is nowhere where the deponent of this statement has taken an oath or an affirmation to prove that these contents, or he is the author of the document. That is point number 1.
Would you have any problem if it was a statement that's not necessarily an affidavit?
Even if
We have used such statements in this commission, especially right at the beginning. We used to have statements that were not affidavits. So what difficulty would you have?
my difficulty is also that
Before the also, would you have any difficulty with a statement that is not an affidavit?
it is a typed document. It's not handwritten, and
I honestly don't understand your point. What's the point about the difference between a typed and a handwritten document?
if it was a proper affidavit or statement, it was supposed, whether it was typed or written, it wouldn't make any difference, but at least it should have
Let
had.
me ask my question again. If it was a statement that is not an affidavit and that does not purport to be an affidavit, would you have any difficulty with it being used in this commission? If you would, what would the basis of the problem be?
Yes, I would, because it was supposed to have long form part of evidence, or as
That's a different point altogether. That's a different point altogether. You know, the issue of how much time have you had to peruse the document and possibly even consult with your client on it. That's a different point altogether. The point now, as I understand you, is that there is an issue or problem with this document because of its nature. Do I understand you correctly?
yes.
Yes. Now, the issue that you raised in support of your point is that there's something, if I understand you correctly, with the attestation. And then to try to cut across that, I'm saying to you, in this commission, we have used statements that are not affidavits. And that was especially so at the beginning. We never had any problems with that. So I want to understand you, and I asked you the direct question. What problem do you have with a statement that is not an affidavit? What's your problem with that? Especially in the context of what I'm telling you, which is that we have used statements in this commission that are not affidavits. So what would your problem be with a statement that is not an affidavit?
When I read through this document, I realized that there are annexures that are being spoken to in this, and they are not attached. That is also my problem with this statement.
Please take me to the relevant paragraphs. I read the document very quickly outside just now, but I don't remember any reference to annexures in it. But even if you are correct, what always happens between legal practitioners is for legal practitioners to say that you refer to such and such an annexure. Can you please share that? And then you decide whether you are able to proceed or not after you've been finished with the annexure. But it cannot be, or at least I do not think so, it cannot be a basis for saying, I object to this affidavit because I've not been finished with the annexure referred to. Of course, it's something that I say all the time, and people who watch proceedings before this commission, I have repeatedly said that is the last thing that I would want to see, that is to prejudice any one of the participants before this commission. So if an issue is with annexures, the annexure must be shared with you. You must get sufficient opportunity to peruse the annexure and also to consult with your client on it. That I will definitely give you time for. So, but now, please take me to the paragraph that refers to annexures.
Just a minute, Mr. Chairperson. Oh, okay. Okay. If
Yes,
If I may,
Yes,
Mr.
Ms. Magula.
if I read through paragraph 9.5 and it's 9.5 and 9.6, the deponent of this document is talking about a letter, and the contents of that letter are not attached to this document. Then if I speak of an annexure, I was speaking about the said letter that maybe it was supposed to be attached to this document.
No, not that it's an annexure. It's a document that you feel should have been shared with you.
Yes,
So you misspoke when you said it refers to an annexure.
I concede.
Yes. Mr. Shaskalsin?
Chair, I haven't consulted with Makosi Makamba. This arrived unsolicited this afternoon.
Yes.
But if one looks at paragraph 10, she says, I left the services of the municipality in November 2023 due to irreconcilable differences with Mrs. Gxasheka's management style and interests. So she hasn't been employed at the council for over 2 years. An instruction issued from her superior to her would be, if it still exists, it will be in the email archives of the council. If Mrs. Gxasheka can still access her email, I don't know if she can, it will be there. We will try and obtain it from the council, but we have no way of obtaining it through any other means. All I propose to do is to ask Mrs. Gxasheka to respond to what the witness to this statement says in paragraphs 9.1 to 9.9, just to understand whether there's a dispute or not.
Thank you, Mr. Shaskalsin. Ms. Magula, I direct that Mr. Shaskalsin should put the questions that he's minded to put to Mrs. Gxasheka. All endeavors must please be made to source the letter. Is it one letter or letters referred to, and to furnish?
We will.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Mrs. Gxasheka, if you go to paragraph 9 on page 3 of this document, there Ms. Makamba makes a number of specific allegations. The first one is that she raised the challenges that existed with regard to the training tender coming to an end during the departmental senior management team meetings. And then she says, I had several engagements with Ms. Gxasheka during the period leading up to December 2022 for her to approve the bid specifications in order for the HR department to commence the process of issuing the tender. Is there anything there that you would dispute?
Apologies, Chair. I can't recall these events. It could have happened, it could not have happened, in terms of the time frames. But where I might want to agree is where I said, look beyond the unit standards, add degree, honors degree, and so forth. That I think from what she's saying, we could be also talking about the same thing where I said there must be additions to the tender document. Thank you, Chair.
Then in paragraph 9.3, she says, my unit submitted the bid specifications to Ms. Gxasheka already in 2022. She took more than 3 months to approve the process. Do you have a response to that?
I think it's similar to 9.2, where I'm saying, if possible, if we're discussing the issue that they must add additional formal qualifications, she might be talking about that. One thing I wouldn't understand, why must that take 3 months or take 6 months? But I did engage, and I've said it earlier, that they must increase the bid specification. Thank you, Chair.
Then she says, the item was eventually submitted to the Bid Specification Committee on or about 26 May 2023. I represented the department at the BSC as the project manager and responsible for the training function of the municipality. Is that correct?
Chair, I think it's similar to what I said earlier on, that I was not involved in the BSC, the Bid Specification Committee, same as the Bid Evaluation Committee and the Bid Education Committee. Thank you, Chair.
And then she says, soon thereafter, Mrs. Gxasheka wrote me an instruction appointing Mr. Joseph Moropa and Ms. Lebogang Motai, who were not in my unit. She also appointed Ms. Zamamia Dibuo Nwendamunsu and Ms. Ntabiseng Kunyamani to run with the tender. Is that correct?
I'm not 100% sure, Chair, what does she mean to run with the tender? Because if it means after it was awarded, maybe she should be saying something else. I can't recall there what would have happened. But my testimony earlier on, I did say that I got people involved in the allocation of the scope and to ensure equitable share. So I'm not 100% sure she's talking about that or what exactly she's talking about. I'm not 100% sure. It's difficult to answer on that one, Chair.
In 9.6, she says in the same letter of instruction,
just before that, but what role would she have played had you not introduced, if she's correct, had you not introduced the people that she mentions here? What role would she have continued to play in the process?
It will be more to ensure that the allocation is done fairly, more than anything. And as I said, I was not happy with how the allocation was done, and I left it to the commission that I think Sitho Ekurhuleni will assist better to provide how all these service providers were paid.
Did you remove her from that process?
I can't recall.
And replace her with other people?
I can't recall, Chair, if when she left the city, because all I know at some point she left the city. What I said, the support department must do, they must manage all the tenders for the city, for HR.
She can't be referring to a period when she had left the city. When she says she was no longer to be involved, she must be referring to a period when she was with the municipality. So did you cause her no longer to participate in the process and replace her with other people? So please do not make reference to her possibly having left the municipality.
Chair, what I know, I've said the management of tenders must be done by the division and support. And the reason I made that decision, support remains independent because they are not the ones that will do the tender, and they are also not the ones that are going to instruct the service providers. So I did say earlier on that I made different improvement in the system, and highly possible she's correct when I say I included support services. But my understanding, Zama and Tabi saying they are also in that division. of Marcos. So on adding Lebu and Joseph, I think should be correct. I said we need an independent person, because of a lot of things that were happening, at the divisional head level, where you will run with a tender, you are a referee and a player, you run with a tender, you adjudicate, after adjudicating with the BAC, you still go and appoint who should do what when. So the responsibility of support services was to guide against that, also ensure that equitable share is happening and the quarterly reports are submitted to finance. Thank you, Chair.
You see, I don't think she can be referring to a process after award of the tender, because she says she left the services of the municipality in November 2023. And we know that the tender was only awarded in November 2023. So these processes that she's describing must relate to a period sometime between May 2023, when the bid specification committee got the specifications, and when she thereafter represented the department at the BSc, and November 2023, when two things happened: she left and the tender was awarded. So I think that what she is talking to in 9.5 would appear to be matters relating to the processing of the tender after it left the bid specification committee.
Look at 9.4 and 9.5. There's the submission to the bid specification committee, and then she says, soon thereafter, you effectively replace her with the people that she mentions. So this is at a stage, as Mr. Shaskalson says, leading up to the award.
Thank you, Chair. It's difficult to really speak to all these issues, especially without proper evidence, firstly. I didn't know that the tender was awarded in November 2023. I could have missed that. And now it's being raised. It's really become difficult. I think if there were documents in front of me, I would respond better on this matter. I'm really grappling with this one.
Can I, in relation to November, can I refer you again to the document that we touched on earlier, which is at pages 128 and 129 of Supplementary Bundle 2, where it's a list of bids that were awarded in November 2023, and this bid and the award to Buena Vista is noted at page 130, second last item. Appointment of a panel of accredited skills development providers to implement various qualifications and skills programs, November 2023, Buena Vista Learning Academy. What she does say in 9.6 and 9.7 is, in this letter to which she refers, she says that you categorically removed her involvement in the training tender, albeit same being in her unit, and the handling of the training tender was thus moved, she says, from my functional ambit and located in the office of the head of department, Ms. Linda Gxasheka. She had absolute control over all HR processes that ensued. Would that be correct?
It's not correct, Chair. I'm going to reiterate. I was not involved in the BAC, in the BSc, and the BEC. That cannot be. In fact, she's bluntly lying here. I've said earlier on, I haven't seen an HOD who go and present his or her tender at BSc, at BEC, and BAC. I'm refusing this. I'm refusing this. I think we are just being implicated here unnecessarily. It doesn't make sense what she's saying to me. And if the tender was only awarded in November and she left, how would then be taken away from her? Because between until November, it would have gone to BSc, it should then go to BEC, after BEC go to BAC. It only comes back now to me to start having a control in terms of the shared, equitable share after November. So I'm refusing, Chair, what she's saying here. I think we are just being played with here. Thank you, Chair.
Well, can I ask you this question? In paragraph 9.5, there are 4 people who she says you designated to run with a tender. Do you recognize those 4 people?
I do.
And are they in the office of the head of department or in the training department, in the office that was run by Ms. Makamba?
They are under, 2 of them are under training department, and then 2 of them are in the service department. Service division. So they are also in another division. That's the division that deals with budget, finance, contract management, and even when you are tendering, they will vet the document. They support you from you starting the tender to its completion. Hence it's called support services. So they will always be involved, not specifically for the tender for training, that is the wife of Madlanga, but they will be involved in all these other tenders.
And would the department not have some representation in the BEC and the BAC, even if it's not you?
They would.
So when she says that the training tender was moved from her functional ambit and located in the office of the head of department, it's quite possible that that would be the case if the people from the department who were designated to the BEC and the BAC were people who reported to you and not to her.
Chair, in other processes that other tender processes in HR, those 2 people has mentioned from support are always there. One thing she has said that is correct, she is a project manager. But on top of that, there's other people that you work with to assist you to conclude this process. And they've always been in any tender process, you'll find the support people in that space. Those 2 people she mentioned, they were very good in handling of how the tenders are done. When I arrived at Ekurhuleni, in any tender process that I was involved on before I became an HOD, Joseph Marupa will sign off the spec, will assist you with the budget. She makes it sound as if they are single-handedly now dealing with the tender, and she's not. What she would probably have done on her side is to try and sideline them. But she remained a project manager, and those guys were there to support her as far as to my knowledge. Thank you, Chair.
Well, that's certainly not her version. She says in your letter to her, you categorically removed her involvement in the training tender.
I can't recall that letter, Chair. It's very difficult to deal with it.
When you say you can't recall, does that mean you could possibly have written it?
I don't know, Chair. I don't know. All I know that I can align with is that Joseph Maripa was support services, no longer working at Ekurhuleni, and there's no tender. Ever since I arrived at Ekurhuleni, there was no tender he was not involved on. But the removal part, I won't know. I can't talk to it. I can only comment maybe when I see it, if indeed happened. There could be something that says, don't sideline, work with them. But I don't know, Chair. I sincerely don't know this one. Thank you.
Can I ask, did you appoint any of these people to the, in a bid process, there's the admin stage where all they are doing is to check whether you have the correct documents like tax documents, registration documents, and then it moves to the proper evaluation where you apply. Whatever you apply, then it moves to the adjudication. Did you appoint any of these people to any of those processes in the tender process?
Chair, what normally happens in the tender process, there's a project manager. Then the project manager will work with a team where, as I say, that they run with a bid specification. They also run to support the evaluation, but all that work is done under finance. And Joseph has always been the person who is running with these processes. So appointing, I'm not 100% sure, but it's always been people who are assisting with tender processes.
And then in paragraph 9.8 and 9.9, she says it's factually incorrect for Ms. Gxasheka to attempt to dissociate herself from processes that involve the training tender and its award. Ms. Gxasheka was the process owner and thus accountable for the tender. What's your response to that?
Chair, I'm going to repeat what I said. I don't see it in the bid specification. I've said my role was to say add formal education, mostly degree, masters and so forth. That was my comment. BSc, I've never went there. Bid evaluation, I was not there. Hence I said maybe get attendance registers, if possible, also get minutes of what transpired in those processes. Chair, I doubt you will not see my name. You will not see my name. I doubt that. I was not involved. Clearly, this is somebody who just wants to leave everything to me instead of allowing that the key stakeholders who ran with the tender must account. I don't agree with what she's saying. I was not fully involved and I didn't award the tender. It will be irregular for me.
Just to clarify what she's saying and what she's not saying, I don't think she's ever suggesting that you sat on the BEC or the BAC. But what she is saying is that the people in the department who sat on the BAC and the BEC reported to you, not to her. What's your response to that?
I've already responded, Chair. There's 5 divisions at that time, if I can recall, in HR. It was the support services, it was her division, strategic HR, and talent management. And it was HRBP, and it was LER and others. And those people are coming from those divisions. If you see the structure of HR, the only people that are reporting to me is the divisional heads and the PA and the coordinator. So it's not proper what she's saying that those people were reporting to me. It's not true reflection of what is happening in the city of Ekurhuleni.
Thank you very much. I don't have any further questions.
Mr. Cheskalson, you moved too quickly for me and left the promotion topic to deal with this statement. I don't have the document that you shared with us, the promotion, the interview panel.
The interview panel. It's pages 58 onwards of the...
Mr. Mashazi.
The Mashazi bundle.
We don't have
You don't have it?
No.
Oh, can we display it?
Yes, please.
Oh, thank you. Ms. Gxasheka, you have in front of you there that summary that we discussed earlier. And the panel, you went through who comprised the panel, and there's 3 people eventually because you confirmed that Mr. Behari did not partake. So instead of 4, you now had 3 people. Now, can you just explain what it means that the HOD SRAC does not indicate whether she approves or disagrees, and what is the consequence of that?
Chair, again, it's part of continuous improvement. You will realize in majority of documents that will have, sometimes a person won't tick, Sometimes you will find out TICS doesn't even put a signature. But sometimes when we audit, we follow those things up. But one thing I can tell you, it didn't mean that she was not recommending the candidate.
Does it mean she recommended the candidate?
Yes.
Why do you say that from this
because
document?
we'll elaborate. Remember, before we decide that the first choice is Mr. Mkhwanazi. For instance, if we said its first choice is Mr. Mkhwanazi, the second choice is Mr. Du Plessis, it would have been a collective decision of the panel.
And where do we see that in this document? I mean, there's a reason you've got this document as a record of what happened. Now, it doesn't tell us on this record what her position was on either candidate.
Chair, I think because she signed and it said their first choice, probably she agreed. Yes, it was an oversight on her not to approve and not to put the telephone number. But she signed there, and it means she agreed with the appointment of the candidate. I don't recall.
If she didn't agree with it, would she not have signed? If she had ticked not approved, are you saying with that explanation that therefore she would not have signed this?
I get what you're saying, that she should have put approved or not approved.
No, she didn't put that.
Yes.
You say her signature signifies that she approved. And I'm saying the inverse, if you're correct, then the inverse would be true, which is if she had disapproved, she would not have signed. Is that what you're saying?
Chair, remembering the events, we all agreed on the recommendation of Mr. Julius Mkhwanazi, according to that document. If why she didn't tick, I think, and not put her date, it's one of those sometimes errors that people will make. And in the inferences on balance of probabilities, I'm talking on the probability, Chair, that Julius's name is there. And if you check the scoring, Chair, Isaac Mapia scored Mr. Mkhwanazi 21, Ms. Zanele Katembo scored Mkhwanazi 20, I scored Mkhwanazi 21.
Okay.
So you can see there, and then Du Plessis, Zanele scored Du Plessis 17.
Yes.
So on balance of probability,
Okay.
should have agreed here.
I think that does answer me, your reference to the scoring. Now, a different question. Now, if the psychometric assessment of Commissioner Mkhwanazi, which you say is known only by you, not the other members of the panel, if it comes back and it's negative, which means it's not supportive of his elevation to this new position, what happens in that case?
We hardly get to a situation. I think the metrics we use in terms of assessment is got basic, advanced, superior, and competent. When you score basic, majority they are. I've spoken to this matter even at the mayoral level. You do get candidates even at an HOD level who score basic. But what we do, we check your strength and we check your weaknesses. And then the reason I transferred this document to the psychometrist lady, she's the one who will then develop your individual development plan so that it's aligned. So we do appoint people out of all those 4 categories. It's just that
even when they have scored basic.
Yes, it's just that when they score basic, that's where you must force that the IDP, the development plan of that individual must be aligned now with this. If you score competent, you then do your own development plan. We don't focus on it.
Whether Commissioner Mkhwanazi scored basic, which you say is the lowest, or not, only you would know.
Only me and the psychometrist will know.
No, I'm saying for purposes of recommending a promotion.
Yes.
So we would have to rely on you having been satisfied
Yes.
that he should be promoted, whatever the outcome of that score is. Okay, that's fine. So you deny that he never went for an assessment?
Chair, as I say, it's a sensitive document. I can just show you the first page and the second page. That's all I can show you.
And that's the result of his assessment?
Yes,
Is that what
and
you're
the
saying?
psychometric house, I don't know if they will still have it or they can even release it, but it's really not true. Hence I'm saying no HOD I give this to. Hence I didn't even put it in the pack.
Okay. And that is part of the documents before us?
No.
I think it has to be, because serious allegations have been made. We do have a system of redacting the information, but I'm going to ask the evidence leaders to get a copy of that document so that we have it in our records.
Chair, on that, because as I say, we don't share this document even with council, what I normally do, I will share with you the certain pages, not the ones that, for instance, describe the employees' certain assessments, but page 1 and page 2 I will share. Also the page, I hope I won't get into trouble on this, and then also the page on the competency.
Ms. Gxasheka, let me try and be helpful to cut it short. You will have to provide the full document, because allegations have been made that he never underwent the test. Your defense or your answer is it was done, and here we have a record of it. It has to be provided. I think there can be discussion with the evidence leaders about how to handle it, to deal with your sensitivities about it. But you've referred to it in evidence here, so it has to be part of our record.
Chair, it's fine. I will discuss it with the evidence leader that it can be inspected. And then beyond the inspection, if it's really required, then I think going to the psychometric house, it will assist. But their details are also here. Thank you.
All right, I'm happy to leave that there. I do have other unrelated questions. The earlier discussion about extending suspension periods. Can you just remind me, Mr. Ngqiza, he was suspended for how long?
I can't remember, Chair.
Did you ever have to extend his suspension?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
Okay. And what was the reason that you extended his suspension?
We were looking at the allegations of the labor
His
relations
qualifications.
cost.
His qualifications.
No, it was the labor relations labor cost, basically.
Yes.
Yes.
And why couldn't he be at work? And maybe let me first explain that the reason I'm clarifying this for the record is because you did not extend the suspension of Commissioner Mkhwanazi, even as Chief Mapieye responded and said he will interfere with witnesses. You have told us how fearful you became when you were told about him, and you didn't extend his suspension, and yet another employee you extended his suspension, and the 3 months, 6 months debate that you were having earlier on, that you were starting, doesn't seem to have been a relevant factor. So maybe just explain what on the face of it appears to be an inconsistency and feeds into the suggestion by witnesses that in fact you were terrorizing and harassing witnesses who wanted to act against Mkhwanazi. And then this is one of the references that you for no reason, no valid reason, extended the suspension of Mr. Ngqiza when it was unnecessary to do that.
Commissioner, can you respond? There's a witness who says I was terrorizing them.
You were part of Dr. Mashazi's scheme to harass witnesses and to harass Ngqiza, Mapieye, and Spies. But in this case, we are talking
I
about...
would like to see
Nisa.
that, Chair, because I want to refute that.
Yes, you can refute it. I'm putting to you what the complaint is. The complaint is Mr. Ngiza makes a number of instances where he says that's evidence of you harassing him, sending EMPD vehicles to his family to deliver documents when it was unnecessary. And when he asks, why do they come in 4 vehicles? They say it's Mr. Gxasheka's instruction that when we come and serve at you, we must bring all the might. We must come in 4 cars. He says that. And then when you sent him your termination letter or something, there were drug enforcement people that came to deliver documents at his house. All of it unnecessary, but meant to intimidate and harass him. That's the sum of his evidence. So,
Thank you.
So my conversation for now is confined to the extension of his suspension in circumstances where someone else facing far serious charges, who is very close to the city manager, that you say you got scared when they spoke about, you did not extend his suspension.
Yeah, Chair, I'm not sure now if I must complain formally. Initially, when we briefed yesterday, and there was an agreement here that certain allegations would not be, implications won't be dealt with. When I wanted to deal with the issues of Mr. Gxasheka, I was cut short here. And I did say that it did look bad outside. But I still complied when it was said cut short. That implication, if I'm not mistaken, is a separate implication. And from evidence leader and from the commission yesterday, there was an agreement that we will not deal with that. And it was concerning Commissioner that it was not dealt with because I really wanted to deal with it.
Okay,
because you are reminding me now of the implications out there.
Let me correct you. You have no agreement with the commissioners about what you will be led on and not. The only thing yesterday that we were told you would not be led on was to do with the tender. You don't have an agreement with us as a panel. Having said that, allegations were made against you. I would expect you to be happy that I'm putting this to you to answer. Because if I don't put it to you to answer, it remains the last word on this. So I'm quite surprised that you would complain when you are being given an opportunity to respond to what a witness has said about you. Absolutely don't understand it. I'm happy to leave it at the accusation. If you don't want to respond to it, I'll leave it at what Mr. Ngiza said. You can choose which one you want. I can leave it.
Chair, as I said, I was fully prepared to deal with this matter yesterday, and I was told I don't need to focus on it. In terms of that implication, I think he quoted 40-something cars or 86 cars that were taken to his house. And when I give an instruction to be served or request to EMPD to serve, I give to one person, and majority of the time it was Dion. I'll say, Dion, go and assist to serve and come back. In my statement, I said...
Can you please use the surname?
Dion Singh. In my statement, I said, I asked Mr. Ngiza way before that when you are serving, because I'll pick it up when they serve HODs, when they serve juniors, I wouldn't necessarily know how they serve it. And I asked, why are you using police to serve employees? Why don't you use your ER officers? And he then said, ideally they're supposed to use sheriffs, but it becomes expensive to use sheriffs. That's why he's using EMPD. And the reason being that they can trace employees down. There are employees who run away who don't want to be served. And therefore, I'll never take and say the whole crew must go to somebody's house. There he's bluntly lying. If it happened, it was not by my request. At EMPD, I request majority of the time, the maximum number, of the time of the people who will arrive in my office is 2. Maximum. Most of the time it's 1. If they see the address is far or they can't find a person, it would be 2. Let's say you did an intention and then the person gives you run around, they would want to go to. It's not true that I've sent so many cars at Kolani's house. He's just exaggerating. If it happened, I wouldn't know. Maybe he's not exaggerating.
Okay.
On the issue of
Extension.
of the
What was my
extension,
question? Yes. Yeah, I was about to check. I was still to check whether you remember what my question was. My question was about the extension.
Extension we've discussed for 2 days.
I'm talking about the extension of NISA. Remember the extension we have discussed is the suspension of Commissioner Mkwanazi, right? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the extension of Mr. NISA's suspension. Because when we were discussing Commissioner Mkwanazi today, the extension of his suspension, you said, well, 3 months, 6 months, the city manager had an option we could have done, it's the end of 3 months, he must go back to work, or we could extend for 6 months. You don't seem to have made the same consideration when it came to Mr. Nisa. You extended, and that's why I'm asking, why did you treat him differently?
Thank you, Chair. In my response, even yesterday, I've been very consistent in my testimony. Before you didn't have to probe me. I said yesterday, in some instances, we do extend. In some instances, we don't extend. And the reason...
The question is why... No, don't answer generally. Remember...
I'm going to come to Mr. Ngweza.
Yeah, I'm asking a very specific question. I think, take it we know that your prescripts, because we've had that evidence, that you can extend beyond 3 months. We understand that. And take it that we understand that you may call an employee back before the end of the period of suspension because you have completed your investigations. Take that as a given. I'm asking you specifically about NISA to try and understand, to make me understand what appears to be different treatment of employees. The one accused of very serious misconduct, his boss says he may interfere with witnesses if he comes back to work, but he's allowed to come back to work. Mr. Nisa, on the other hand, is not allowed to come back to work. He's extended for another 3 months. Can you just explain? And I was just giving you the context in which my request for an explanation is made. It is the accusation or complaint is this was part of the campaign of harassment of people who are seen to be chasing after Mkwanazi. That's the context in which I would like to understand why him you seem to have treated differently.
Chair, I've said earlier on here, if maybe in the beginning, the matter of Mkwanazi was never taken to Dr. Mashaz, maybe we won't be here. I did say that. The matter of Mr. Ngweza was fully managed by myself. Hence, even other matters in other departments are managed by the department. We don't necessarily have this challenge. If there was no interference on instructions that are given differently from Mkwanazi in comparison to anybody else, maybe we won't be here. So normally departments, they decide through our guidance to extend or not to extend, depending on the circumstances. So in this particular manner, I was fully involved, and therefore I made that determination. I didn't need to consult anybody. One mistake we're learning from this, probably me and Chief of Police, is when you are given delegations, fully deal with them.
Okay.
Chair, it's highly possible, even if he were, maybe chief of police didn't go to the city manager, she might have still heard about it and she would have still intervened. But at least one thing we must learn, when we are given full delegations, run with them.
All right.
Until we are stopped.
Another question. Why did you become involved in the chief of police decision to redeploy Commissioner Mkhwanazi when you lifted his suspension? His boss, who we understand is in charge of deployments and promotions and movements in his unit. Why did you become involved with that?
I've said in my testimony from yesterday and today, if you read, I think the first or second sentence of that upliftment, I said it came to my attention. And I said, I meant that I was told by the accounting officer that once more you are not managing and therefore why is this happening? Whereas I've made a decision that Mr. Mkhwanazi must not be his suspension is uplifted. Why you are not following this?
Okay, so the city manager instructed you to intervene here and make sure that Commissioner Mkhwanazi is returned to his substantive position. Is that how we should understand what you've just said now?
Yes, that's how it happened.
Okay. All right. And then my last question, I think. Yesterday, there are two things, in fact, to it, and I think they are unrelated. I'm going to ask very quickly and hope to get a quick answer. Yesterday, and in your statement, you say that, I don't have it in front of me, you say something to the effect, we must look at city of Ekurhuleni with a fine eye. You remember you say something like that in your statement. And then in your oral evidence, you said what we have seen or heard is the tip of the iceberg. Now, taking into account our terms of reference, you know what we are investigating, right? Infiltration of criminal syndicates, cartels into law enforcement. What do you say we haven't heard, which makes you say so far what we have heard is the tip of the iceberg?
Chair,
because and I ask you not to put you in a spot, but because we are that commission that is tasked to investigate this, and you spoke in different in different terms. You said we should look at this carefully.
Chair, I've made examples and firstly, I want it to be recorded. In the absence of the risk threat analysis not being taken serious, I don't want you to have escalating statistics here. It will be a very sad situation that by the time the commission is concluded, the statistics of how certain lives are managed out there have increased. But because I've put the issue in the commission, I've said, firstly, there's about 20 to 40 forensic that are not yet brought to the fore. When I said...
And they're relevant to our terms of reference.
Remember, Chair, I said, because others, I don't think they are relevant, I said before I suspended to the OCMOL, that they must look at having perhaps a mirror task team that would look with issues of Ekurhuleni, where they can give every HOD an opportunity to come and raise their challenges. In the absence of those 40 documents and not forensic reports not being brought to the fore, it's concerning. And people were doing runaround. After doing runaround, I was then ultimately suspended when I keep on pushing that bring these files, let's see them, and where possible, let's close them. There's so many media engagement information that is being shared out there, especially Jeff Wicks and I think News 24, that this commission should be aware of. And because they have not been brought here, Chair, hence I said from the OCMOL, and if they take it up, in fact I was reprimanded when I said that. They said I'm out of order. If I remember, one councillor said, because I was mentioned in Madlanga, they had to protect me when the Youth League wanted to go and protest against me. So I'm being out of order to say there must be a task team. Those were articulations, those minutes are available where I was reprimanded. And I was trying to assist Ekurhuleni to say, are we always going to have this commission for the institutional reform to happen?
Is the long and short of what you're saying that there are matters that have not yet served before the commission with the witnesses that have come, which are relevant to the terms of reference that the commission should look at? Is that the long and short of what you're saying?
From those that I've seen in the media space, Chair, I think those people that are implicated in those situations, Jeff Wicks brought this and made sure that EMPD or Ekurhuleni is involved. In the others that I mentioned as well, Jeff Wicks was running with it.
Okay.
And the other ones that are not yet mentioned, Chair, I think Mr. Philip Rahwale should be called to come and talk to the commission that these cases that is having, what are they all about, if it needs to be, because I don't know they're talking to the terms of reference. I want that to be reiterated. My ultimate proposal was to say, Ekurhuleni, clean yourself. Reforms, institutional and structural reforms can be done, Chair, and be imposed, but if they're not done by the institution itself, I promise you it's going to be documents that are left and gather dust somewhere. All these departments that are implicated here, all these institutions, at some point they must do their own institutional reforms, systems reforms, structural reforms.
Okay.
And maybe it's something that the commission might make as a decision that says, after 12 months or 6 months, bring back what we have done to change. You will impose, but I guarantee you, if it's not done by the institution itself, there's little that is going to come with your recommendations on the institutional reforms. That's what I was articulating to the OCMOL. Thank you.
All right. Lastly from me, and it comes again from your evidence. You mentioned Mr. Matala having met him twice or thrice. I think that's how you started. You said twice or thrice. And then you said one of the times was he had come to you about a woman who had been assaulted or something, to come and speak to you about that. And then there were 2 other instances, and it is the second part that I didn't quite get, because I think you said something about COVID tests or something, if I'm not mistaken. You said something. But I want the second part. So you had the one instance where he came to lay a complaint about a woman who had been assaulted. The other 2 times, what was it about?
The second part, Chair, it was also about an incident, 2 incidents of involving car accidents, where a certain senior person, Ekurhuleni, was protected by certain employees of Ekurhuleni, where he said
when you say senior person, an MMC.
No, an HOD.
Okay.
Where that HOD was then protected by his team. And instead of being tested for drunken driving, he was not tested. But the other person who was on the other car, I think he was highly injured, was then tested. That was the first issue. And that issue...
Is that one of the things that Mr. Madlanga came to see you about?
Yes. Then the second issue, he then said that there's decisions that are made by certain individuals in terms of the succession plan of the city manager, where certain names were discussed somewhere, and the person that we are proposing, but I wasn't part of that, proposing to be made a city manager, also has a criminal case pending, but it was put under the carpet by this other senior person who also had an accident. And my response to him was, I need proper evidence to this. And then he said, I'm stalling things. He's going to report us to the public protector. If I'm not mistaken, he even sent me his writing to the public protector. He also wanted the numbers of the spokesperson. There was a lot of things. That's when I then said, I think you're starting to take me for granted, because I guided him and I said, go to the police. Go to the police and speak to the police. HR, it's not a crime prevention or a crime investigation department. We deal with labor relations issues. Then he attacked me. Then that's when I told him where to get off.
Okay. It's quite interesting that he would want to have he has an interest in what the city is planning to do about a city manager. What was his relationship at that time when that conversation about the succession of the city manager? Did he have any relationship with the city, whether business or other form?
I can't recall at that time. I can't recall. As I say, I just dismissed him.
Okay.
I can't recall.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Gxasheka.
Thank you.
Why would he come to head of HR about these issues? What do they have to do with HR?
My suspicion at the time, now that I linked the thing, because if you remember, I said yesterday, I listened tentatively, with full attention of what is this person all about. My own assumption is that he was trying to protect Mr. Mkhonas, in the sense that you guys are dealing with Mr. Mkhonas, but you're not dealing with other people in the city. That's when I told him where to get off, and I said, go and do what you need to do.
And more or less, when was this?
I can't recall
not
the
the exact month, but just, is it 2023? Is it 2022? Is it?
It was around December 2024, if I'm not mistaken.
Thank you.
Not December, sorry, Chair, not December 2024. It could have been around August or September, October. It was before December. Because if I listen there, oh God, I hope I'm gonna be protected. And I'm listening there, I said, this guy, I tell him where to get off. After that, he gets arrested. Because he even said to me, that I have drones. I'm gonna put cameras in your house and I will know what you're doing. And my response was, you can put them wherever you want as long as you don't put them inside my house, before I left him. So it won't be December if he was arrested in December, because I said, he was dealing with me and life dealt with me, but was not involved in his arrest. I never followed it up. Even in the 3 or few occasions I met with him, it was just casual and then pressing on these issues that I said must refer to the police.
Mrs. Gxasheka, in paragraph 131, or rather from paragraph 131 onwards, you deal with the vetting question, that is the vetting of members of the EMPD. I do not see you directly dealing or categorically dealing with the issue that was raised by Chief Mapia, I think Commissioner Spies as well, to the effect that, I think mainly Commissioner Spies actually, to the effect that a vetting process, that is a vetting of all the police officers within the municipality, a vetting process was conducted, and that Brigadier or Commissioner Mkwanazi and all the police officers falling under his command refused to be subjected to that process. That is what the testimony of Commissioner Spies said. Are you aware of that?
The way we were looking at the matter, my understanding, they were going to vet everybody. But if I check on the emails, Mr. Mkonazi says the data is obsolete. Let's start afresh. But I didn't zoom down to see that indeed it's only his department that doesn't want to be vetted. But I think I saw that.
We actually, in testimony, Commissioner Spies showed us a schedule that actually set out even the results of the vetting process. Some of the crimes referred to being crimes that were committed when the police officers were already within the employ of the municipality. So there is a report, the vetting was actually done. But, so says Commissioner Spies, Commissioner Mkwanazi and everybody falling under his command refused to be subjected to that process. Now, the meeting that you referred to in paragraph 133 of your supplementary statement at page 42. Did that meeting not deal with this subject?
Joy, can ask. Sorry, Commissioner, I think I need to see that first.
All right.
Oops.
Your supplementary statement.
Yes.
Paragraph 133 at page 42.
Paragraph?
133, page 42. You say you were invited to a meeting by Chief Mapie. So my question is, did that meeting not discuss the question I've just referred to, the refusal by Commissioner Mkwanazi and all police officers falling under his command to be subjected to the vetting process?
Chair, when I was in that meeting, in one of the meetings, especially this one, I didn't stay long. So if there was a refusal to have that, I could have missed it. But one thing we agreed was that the vetting must happen, and is for the whole EMPD. I think that was my understanding. If Mr. Mkwanazi didn't want specifically for his department division to be processed, it's highly possible. Because I remember somebody also said he called Dr. Mashaz, it's just that I'm also tired now, I can't remember everything, and complained. But when that happens, I was not even there. Because if he called Dr. Mashaz, I don't think would have allowed that. Maybe he would have still done it.
Just
so
please explain what was the call about. Please explain what was the call about.
I saw in one of the statements, Chair, where someone said, while this was being discussed, then Brigadier Mkwanazi, the chief of, the deputy chief of police called Dr. Mashaz. And then he said after that it won't happen. But I can't recall, I don't think I was still in the meeting when that happened. And highly possible it did happen.
That is exactly when Commissioner Mkwanazi was allegedly refusing to be subjected to the vetting process. And he was basically appealing, allegedly, to Dr. Mashazi not to be subjected to that process. In my recollection of the testimony, that was the purpose of the call.
Yes, Chair, as I say, I did see that, but I don't think I was still in the meeting when that happened. I did see in the statements.
Can you tell me why, let me ask this question first. Did you not consider the question of the vetting of the Ekurhuleni police to be a very important subject?
It was a very important subject, Chair. Hence I said...
Why did you say that, but I did not stay long? Why would you not have stayed long for such an important discussion?
I did provide a direction, Chair. And I even said, let's go and seek a legal opinion. So to me, the key issues I wanted to deal with and the understanding of the issues I've dealt with, I provided a direction and the legal opinion was sought. And as I said earlier on, even where I guided them that the letter must be drafted, you must do expungement. So my contribution was done, Chair. I can't recall where I had to go in that particular day, but I gave my full a part of that meeting in advising and the way forward. And we did follow up on things that we agreed must be done.
My understanding of the testimony is that the most important issue that in all probability would have been at the top of the discussions was the very issue of the refusal of Commissioner Mkhwanazi and his team to be subjected to the vetting process. So the simple point I want to make is that I do not understand that you apparently should not be aware of that. Should have been top of the list. That was the main thing, because on my understanding, everybody else had agreed to the vetting, had been subjected to the vetting, and results had been obtained. And I've referred you to what some of the results were.
Chair,
I find it a bit improbable that you should not be aware, as you suggest you are not, that there was such an issue.
Chair, I think I did speak to it yesterday, that I saw debates happening. What I'm saying, in the meeting, I don't recall.
At which point did you see those debates?
It was on the emails.
Before this meeting?
I'm not sure if it was before or after this meeting, Chair. I think it could have been after this meeting, whereby they were saying that the data is outdated, we must start afresh, and so forth. But in that particular meeting, I could have missed it. As I say, it could have happened after I left, and I thought I would have put that in my statement.
Let me conclude by making two suggestions to you, two related suggestions. I think I've already made one. One, this vetting issue relating to the alleged refusal of Commissioner Mkhwanazi and his team to be subjected to the vetting was in all probability top of the list in the discussion that was to take place. And secondly, it is very strange, I suggest to you, that you should have left the meeting, or you should, as you say, not have stayed long at that meeting when it was to discuss such a serious issue.
Apologies, sir. I did leave capable people. My team was capable. That's why even when Lefu followed up on the legal opinion, I responded there and there and said, thank you for following it up. And we continued with it. Indeed, I should have stayed until the longest time. I would have picked it up if there's a resistance. But I felt that I left a capable team. And indeed, we did follow it up and make sure that we get the legal opinion. I kept on following it up. And issues of Mkhwanazi are managed by a senior person who seems to be protecting Mkhwanazi. And it's really a pity that we are also seen to be...
Why was there a need for a legal opinion? I don't understand this. All other police officers have been subjected to the vetting process. And that vetting process has revealed criminality, basically. And not only criminality that was there before the police officers were employed, but criminality that was committed when some of the police officers were already employed by the municipality. That's very, very serious. Now, Brigadier Mkhwanazi or Commissioner Mkhwanazi and his team cannot be an outlier, the sort of outlier in respect of which there could not have been similar findings. So the simple point or the simple thing that should have been done was for you to direct Commissioner Mkhwanazi and his team to agree to being subjected to the vetting process. I don't understand what the legal opinion was for.
Chair, we did direct in terms of what needs to be done, and we did say that this vetting process must happen.
At what point? At what point? Because you keep referring to the legal opinion and having left a team that you had confidence in, and then you refer to the legal opinion afterwards. At what point did you direct?
In terms of the emails on that document I shared today, I did explain, Chair, at what point I said they must conduct the process.
At what point would this have been in relation to Chief Mapia's meeting and the opinion? At what point would this direction have been? Because I believe that the direction should have been immediate. If there are allegations that they have refused to subject themselves to the vetting process, the direction should have been immediate. And surely you would remember if you did that or you did not. So it can't require you to find some document or some email to respond to the question.
Chair, we all agreed that this must happen, and it was just the process to follow.
My question is at what point? That's the
immediately, question. Chair. Immediately. Hence, after the legal opinion, if you saw, we quickly responded and say, let's embark on this.
So are you saying you only directed after the legal opinion?
No, before that, I said, Chair, they must go and get the issue of the consent. They must draft an expungement. They must go and check the expungement policy, how it goes. They must also categorize them into those different categories. When did you receive a legal opinion? Criminal record. Was it before you were employed or after were you employed? And what was the type of the criminal activity that we were involved on?
Thank you. I will ask the question for the third time. At what point in relation to Chief Mapia's meeting did you give the direction that Commissioner Mkhwanazi and his team should subject themselves to the vetting process? I'm asking it for the first time. For the third time.
Yes, Chair, in that meeting, it was very clear that everybody must be subjected to a criminal record, to the vetting process. And if I recall, they already indicated that...
You are referring to a direction by you, as I understand you. Now you are saying at that meeting it was clear. I'm asking you about your direction. When did you give your direction?
In that meeting, Chair.
At that meeting you gave your direction.
Yes, then I said, Chair, in doing it, let's follow a certain process.
Yes.
That's what I said. So when I'm saying let's get a legal opinion, we all agreeing that it must be done. But there's a way of doing it. Then I said, let's get a legal opinion to see how best to do it. And hence I said, let's have categories. Well, when did you get it and so forth? Because there could be issues of fraud. Okay, I'm lacking a better word of using. I'll use fraud in terms of sometimes a person, when did you get this? Was it before you were appointed or after you were appointed? Number two, what were the reasons for you to get a criminal record? So I've directed in that meeting, Chair, before I leave, that let's do this vetting.
Was it at the point of your direction that Commissioner Mkhwanazi called Dr. Mashazi?
No, I wasn't there, Chair. I wasn't there. As I say, I'm not sure when did he call Dr. Mashazi. But I agree, highly possibly it did happen. In my side, I said everybody must be vetted. All you must do, you must have a consent and let's check who is due for expungement, and let's also get a consent. That was very clear on it.
That's something quite detailed, and I find it strange that you do not deal with it in your statement, which is also quite detailed on the vetting issue, or do you? The issue of the direction, and whatever else you say accompanied it. You do not say, I gave a direction that Commissioner Mkwanazi and his team should subject themselves to the vetting process. So I'm saying that's something quite important, something quite crucial. I find it very strange that you do not mention it in your statement.
It's a pity, Chair, that it's not mentioned. As I say, other evidence I thought will be provided orally. And I think I'm trying by all means to show consistency in terms of what roles I would have played. Is something that can be relooked at if there's a need to do that. But I was very clear in supporting that vetting must happen.
I will just say, you have a whole lot starting from paragraph 1 of your affidavit right up to the last paragraph, and you have given testimony with regard to all of those issues, except those that Mr. Chaskalson said, perhaps let us keep these for the reasons that he gave. You stated all of that in your affidavit, and you did not say, I will not state any of these because I'm going to testify on them. So I do not understand your response that you did not say this because you are going to give oral testimony on it. I just find it difficult to understand that.
You
may comment if you want to. Yes.
It wasn't intentional, Chair. Yes. As I say, as much as you try to have the statement. Remember my first statement, it was very rushed. I think we didn't sleep that night. And then we had an opportunity when we had Dr. Mashazi's testimony to relook at. Yes. Otherwise, I tried my level best to show that I was supporting the process. I could have missed, you right, an important part where I was saying I gave a direction. But I thought through my evidence, Chair, it will indicate that she had an interest on this. Yeah. Even when I said, okay, we get the legal opinion. Thank you. Proceed. Let's move.
Thank you,
Chair.
Can I just clarify something from this discussion with the Chair? This meeting that you're referring to, did you know at the time of that meeting, that Commissioner Mkwanazi has refused that he and his people that report to him should undergo vetting?
I didn't sense that.
So you were not specifically addressing that issue of Commissioner Mkwanazi and his people refusing to go for vetting. You were not specifically addressing
I was addressing the issue of everybody that has been identified to have gone, who's supposed to go vetting, and I was saying people must go for vetting.
Yes.
The specifics I can't recall, but
so it wasn't about this issue that the Chair is raising, because there's two things. Everyone is instructed to undergo vetting, right? That's the instruction from Chief Mapie. In response to that, Commissioner Mkwanazi refuses for him and his team to be vetted. And he's admitted that. He came here and testified that he didn't trust how it was going to be done. That's why he didn't do it. So it's not clear to me from your discussion with the chairperson whether you're saying that meeting that you say you left early, right? Where you specifically, when you said everyone must undergo vetting, this is the procedure, you must get consent forms, were you in that meeting to address specifically the issues that have been raised about Commissioner Mkwanazi, or you were just speaking generally to everybody?
The way Chief explained it, he said that it's part of their clusteral meeting, police clusteral meeting, that everybody must be vetted. And my response to that was, I agree that everybody must be vetted. And if I recall, they could have done it before with they were calling them peace officers or whatever, that were supposed to be converted into some MPO positions. And those people were arrested for political reasons years ago. So what I was saying, it was not the first time we had to embark in such a process.
Well, when first did you hear that Commissioner Mkhwanazi has refused to be vetted, him and his people?
In that email where he said everybody must undergo, they don't trust the data, and therefore everyone must restart the process.
So you knew at that time?
I could
from
sense
that email.
Yes, I could sense that there's some resistance. However, it's
no, but he doesn't say in that email exchange that him and his people are not going to do this. He speaks very generally. He says the data is old. Let's redo it, right? Let's do it. So I'm asking you more specifically. Did you ever become aware that Commissioner Mkhwanazi has refused that he and his people, those who reported to him, should be vetted? Did you ever come to know that?
When he had engagements with me, it was the data is old and certain people are being targeted, and I don't know who are those people. And remember, that happens when now we go to OCMOL meetings where this issue continuously being discussed. And I think subsequently, I'm not sure if I testified to that, I even wrote to him and said, this vetting, Chief, must happen. If it doesn't happen, we're gonna be implicated. You know, so I did sense that.
So you did become aware that,
yes, I think
that he is resisting to undergo vetting.
Yes, when we went to one of the OCMOL meetings, the way he handled himself, I could sense that he's not too passionate to have this thing done. And I don't know.
And wasn't that something that you should take action about? To make sure it happens, because
I guided him, Chair. I guided him and said, Chief, please ensure that this vetting takes place. Remember, I think by that time, Chief was not even there when we're getting pressure from OCMOL. That when is this vetting happening? Because the allegation that was out there is that now there's people who have criminal records here.
Is there a reason that you did not start a process of disciplinary processes for him and whoever else that was refusing to be vetted? When you became aware that Mkhwanazi is not submitting to vetting, instead of the email that you later send and say, Chief, this is what the counselor was talking about, we better do this, otherwise they will come for us, HRNE MPD, there is that email.
Okay.
So I acknowledge you sent that email at some point, but I think the question is something else, which is, that's all you did. Why did you not, because it's such a serious matter, at least to us outsiders, that you have people who are not vetted, some of whom have got criminal records. We have a long report that Commissioner speaks with numbers of people who have cases of rape against them, of assault, and. When you learn that Commissioner Mkhwanazi, in whatever way you learn, and however it was presented to you, when you learn that he's refusing or resisting to be vetted, and that his people be vetted, why do you not institute disciplinary process about it? Because it's a simple matter. The rule says you must be vetted. You've provided guidance that they should be vetted. When you realize it's not happening, why are you not instituting disciplinary proceedings?
Chair, it's in our discussions, and I could have shared it in the emails. I said it's their capability to have that process done for the whole city. It's done by them. And EMPD is the same people who says to me, today intervene, tomorrow don't intervene. And I keep on saying here in the commission, my role is to advise them. They keep on writing to me and tell me Section 64C doesn't allow you to be involved in our space. All I keep on doing for EMPD is to advise them. And I think it has been discussed here through other people's evidence that me and the chief of police were equals. All I can do is to advise. He has demonstrated, even chief of police himself, many times that stop interfering. What I've learned
that's not always correct, though. You've lifted the suspension of Mkhwanazi, who is in EMPD. You have told Chief you must return Commissioner Mkhwanazi to his substantive position. So you do get involved with HR matters. So it's not always true that you don't get involved with the MPD human resource issues.
Indeed, Chair, I do get involved, commissioners. And even in this instance, I was fully involved in the sense that I did guide them throughout the process. You know, for them, they take my instructions or it's up to them. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I agree with you, and I think my testimony and evidence is very clear that I do get involved. But you get involved to a space that is not clear. Hence, I said earlier on that the one of the communications from Dr. Mashazi to Chief that says, Chief, draft a policy into this confusion. You know, if maybe that policy gets to be realized, it will also assist the city to stop the confusion. And hopefully, by the time everything is sorted, we can also realize the HRBP model so that we have somebody who's fully involved in that department. But I agree with you. I do assist them. I do try to make decisions, but ultimately, they decide what to do or not what to do.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Gxasheka.
You want to say?
I'm sorely tempted to take up this issue, but I think it's late in the day and we've gone very far. So I won't. But I do. Sorry, I can't resist this. It seems to me that the chronology is very important. The meeting is on 2 April. The opinion is distributed on 5 April. On 5 April, you send a message to SPIS and to Mapiyeye saying, deal with these different categories. That's 5 April 2024. What then happens is not the chief, but Julius Mkhwanazi takes it upon himself to respond to your email and say, no, let's start the process afresh. And then nothing happens for a year. What did you do in a year? And we're not talking just about people who refuse to be vetted. We're also talking about 250 people who have been charged, who've either been convicted of serious offences or awaiting trial on serious offences. So there are 250 criminals inside the EMPD, alongside another 210 who refuse to have their fingerprints taken, and in respect of whom there must be a fairly strong presumption that if they did have their fingerprints taken, some bad things would emerge. What did you do for a whole year?
In my email, I said to the chief, if you saw, I didn't necessarily respond to one person. I responded to all of them and said, continue with your process. While you are busy with your process, keep us abreast. And that's the same chief who will say, don't get involved in my space. I do advise. If they want to take my advice, they take it. If they don't want to take my advice, they don't take it. We agree that they have the capacity, the whole city, when they want vetting to be done, it's done by EMPD. I'm not sure how I would have assisted the chief and say, Chief, why are you not doing this? And subsequently to Chief, when these matters were raised, I said to Mr. Mkhwanazi, conclude this process.
No, what you said to Mr. Mkhwanazi was something different. If we go to page 2063. A year previously, literally a whole year previously, to the day, 6 April 2024, he had written saying, we must start this process afresh. There is no communication between you for a whole year. And then on Sunday, April the 6th, 2025, at 10:22 p.m., you forward him your message from a year ago, from Saturday, April the 6th, 2024. And you forward it under a message saying, this is the issue the councillor is referring to. We need to act on this, not because it's a disaster if there are criminals running around in the uniform of the EMPD, but we need to act on this before they use it against HR and EMPD. You weren't worried about criminals in the EMPD. You were worried about some councillor pointing a finger at you and Mr. Mkonazi for doing nothing about the fact that there are criminals in the EMPD.
Chair, I think I did say earlier on that the inference biasness I will accept. And I think I understand that it's based on being on the other side and I'm sitting on the other side. I'm still sticking by my evidence. I did write to them in 6 April, I agreed 2024, and I said, keep me an accounting officer abreast. When this didn't happen, and now it was raised in the OCMOL, to me, the mere fact that it's Sunday, it shows as well that one is not resting. He's looking at matters, despite that it's a Sunday, at 10:22 p.m. It shows you that when they say what things that makes you not to sleep at night, this would be one of them. And if you look now how things happened is, things could have been done better. I agree. And one could have been forced them to do it. When I force them to do, I account. When I don't force them to do anything, I still account. And as I say, Commissioner, we are learning from this, that a policy that integrates all these legislations and systems of delegations will assist. And it was wrong of Mkwanazi and the Chief of Police and not to ensure that this vetting happens. But I'm hoping that that integrated policy will really assist.
But the real question is, what was keeping you up at night? Was it the fact that there were 250 criminals running around in EMPD uniforms? Or was it the fact that someone had discovered that there were 250 criminals in EMPD uniforms and was now taking the issue up and pointing fingers at HR and EMPD for letting it happen? What was keeping you up at night?
It's all of those. It was all of them. It was all of them.
But then why did it take you a whole year before you started getting anxious about the fact that there were 250 criminals in EMPD uniforms?
Some discussions, Chair, they take place in different platforms, and I think I did speak to that. It might look like because the email, the only written evidence now is this email. Others might not appear, but we do have engagement on these things, and we kept on discussing them. And ultimately, it's an EMPD issue, not necessarily it was my issue. I am taking up that I should have known better and I should have owned this process and not leave it to them, especially because they were fighting among themselves.
Thanks. I don't have any further questions.
I think we have reached the end of the testimony. Sorry. Oh, okay.
Mr. Chairperson, the request for an affidavit to do with that medical report, was anything done about it? Was it addressed to the legal representatives?
No, but it will be.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
There being no application for re-examination, this is the end of the testimony, or is there such an application? Yes, Ms. Magula.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
at this moment, I think there are only two aspects that I would like to re-examine on, or bring an application to re-examine on. It's on the matter of the topic of reverse peace and
Which aspect of his testimony?
just a minute, Mr. Chair. The first one,
Yes.
the first one, Mr. Chairperson, it's about the issue of that when Ms. Linda Gxasheka testified, she was giving a visionary of what had to happen. So I just request to re-examine her on the aspect that I want her to confirm actually that there was no existing precedent.
No existing prescript.
Prescript, yes. No existing prescript to what was happening with especially with the issue of Mr. Spies having had resigned and joined another municipality. Then there was no restriction and there was no prescript about the issue of the medical aid.
So yes, all right, we'll allow that. And what was the other issue? I think you said two, yeah.
And the other one is to clarify on his form again that indeed he wrote that when he was resigning, he said he's resigning because of he resigned or he took an early retirement. And if he took an early retirement, is there anything that was preventing him to join another precinct?
All right,
to be re-employed?
Please go ahead. Thank you.
Do I have to repeat the?
No, start with the re-examination.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Gxasheka, would you clarify to me, especially about the issue of reverse peace, as I've already testified, you did not have any policy or there was no prescript in Ekurhuleni which prevents the action that was taken by reverse peace?
Thank you, Chair. In terms of I think the memo that was read here today and his exit form, the exit form talks to retirement, resignation, deceased, and abandonment. And it goes further. In his form, he ticked retirement and then he added early with a pen, and he says 60 years. And then again, in his resignation letter, okay, I'm not sure if this was shared with the commission. In his resignation letter, if I may read it, is that he said, early retirement or resignation from employment, please accept this letter as a formal notification that I'm resigning from my position as Deputy Chief of Police, Auxiliary and Support Services with Ekurhuleni Police Department, effective 28th February 2025. This decision comes after 42 years of dedicated service to the law enforcement profession and 33 years to the city, during which I had privilege of contributing to the safety and well-being of our community. I am incredibly grateful for the opportunity and experiences I have gained through my career. I have reached the age of 60.
Sorry, Mrs. Gxasheka. I hope I remember what the question was. I think it was, is there a prescript?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, the question is about the existence of a prescript, Mrs. Gxasheka, not the motivation for taking early retirement.
There is a document that talks to when you take early retirement, and then there will be, you will contribute, the employer will assist you to contribute towards your medical aid until upon death. There is a mayoral or council resolution to that effect.
So that document, does it state as to whether if maybe you get employment somewhere else whilst you are on those benefits, the previous employer will stop its benefits that it has given to you or awarded to you?
Sorry, Chair, I do need to object here, because if we're talking about what a hypothetical document says in relation to Ekurhuleni policy and precepts, we need to see the document. Or at the very least, we need to have some description of the document that will enable us to locate it.
Should we proceed on let's hear the witnesses answer, Mr. Shaskolsin, and then endeavors should be made to get the document. I think Mrs. Gxasheka would assist in sourcing the document. Your answer to the question?
Okay, thank you, Chair. Yes, Chair, there is a council resolution. I will try and get it through the right channels from Ekurhuleni. And the documents it talks specifically to retired employee, not to employees that have resigned and intend to join another municipality. Just talks about retirement.
And early retirement is defined as retirement.
Yes, I don't have an issue with the early retirement.
Right.
Where I said I had an issue, it's for you to correct.
I'm raising it purely because you refer to resignation and taking up employment elsewhere. That's why I'm just saying early retirement is retirement. Yes, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nothing further. I think she has clarified it.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Gxasheka. One last thing, I promise. Would you agree with me that if there was a prescript or a policy within Ekurhuleni that said if you are receiving post-retirement medical aid subsidy from the employer and you become employed by somebody else, the subsidy stops. If there was such a policy, then all Ekurhuleni has to do is to enforce its rights in terms of that policy.
Chair, what I said earlier on, or yesterday when I was testifying, was that policy, it was meant for early retirement or retirement and so forth. I think even the memo that we read today, it mentioned those who qualify. And I said my concern with Revo's piece is I've changed and said he intended to mislead here. Because in his resignation, he says, I'm reaching the age of 60 during November 2024. I've decided to pursue early retirement, to dedicate it to my time, And I think the debate we had yesterday was he can take early retirement today and decide tomorrow to go and work in another municipality. Then I said it's something that as the city we need to look at, because clearly there is a misconstrued or a misleading situation here. There's two people that I've heard of that have done that thus far. And to avoid it continuing beyond those two people, we have to revise the policy. I think I was very clear in my testimony. And when I said because I've changed my wording and said he has misled the council, I further said the reason that made me to be concerned is that a person could be receiving a what you call this, a benefit that he should not be receiving, Ekurhuleni. If I can go, Chair, even the definition of an early retirement versus a resignation. In early retirement, it's a planned departure often before a standard age requirements, whereby an employer consent and allow access to pension fund benefits with favorable to tax treatment. But on the resignation, my definition I managed to have is that it's a unilateral decision to leave and
Again, I'm very sorry, Mrs. Gxasheka. The question is, if what Mr. Revo's piece did was against whatever prescriptive there be, would it not be within the municipality's power to exercise his rights against him? That's the question. I think it's an easy yes or no question.
Once the policy has been corrected, I think what I said.
No, now as matters stand at present.
It can be done, Chair, in the sense that if there's a benefit that is happening at Tshwane, you can't have a double benefit. I don't think it's fair. And we're spending a lot of money in terms of those post-retirement employer contribution. So it's something that can be looked at. Thank you, Chair.
Ms. Gxasheka, I think in fairness to Commissioner Spies, who's not able to speak for himself because he's now testified, when you say he was misleading, I note that you withdrew your statement that he committed a fraud and corruption. You withdrew that. Now you use different terminology. You say he misled. What misleading are you saying he committed in this case?
I'm saying, Chair, in your resignation letter and in your termination form, you're saying you take early retirement, knowing very well that you are going to another municipality.
Is there a rule, whether rule, law, policy, and I tried to get this with you yesterday, that says on taking early retirement, an employee or a former employee of Ekurhuleni is not allowed to take other employment after having taken early retirement?
Chair, what I've said is Mr. Rivospis, he left Ekurhuleni still getting 5,700 every month.
My question.
And he went to Etswane immediately after leaving Ekurhuleni.
You're repeating what you said yesterday. It doesn't make it any more cogent just because you say it many times. You know that. I'm asking you a straightforward question. Is there a rule, a policy, a law, a collective agreement, whatever, when your council speak of a prescript, is there anything that is written and that is binding that precludes him, not just him, any employee, even the other two that you are referring to, on taking early retirement from assuming employment after that? Is there anything? And I expect your answer to be a no. I do. I expect the answer to be a no, because if there was a prescript, you would have said that yesterday. You would have said it. You would have given me that straight answer now, a second ago when I asked you the same question. So I'm putting to you, and maybe let me reformulate what I'm saying. It might be easier for you. I'm suggesting to you that there is nothing, as matters stand now, there's nothing that precludes any employee of the city of Ekurhuleni, and therefore Commissioner Spies, from taking early retirement because they have met the threshold, the age qualification, and then after that going and working elsewhere. I'm suggesting to you there's no rule that says that cannot be done. Do you disagree with that?
Chair, in terms of I think the Pension Funds Act is very clear that when you retire, what do you do? And I think I conceded to that you can retire at any time when you need to retire, even take early retirement.
And go and work somewhere else.
What my issue is that there's a 5,700.
No. Okay, no, you're not going to answer. I think you don't want to answer my question. I have put it differently and asked you, am I wrong when I say to you, there is no rule, there is no policy of Ekurhuleni that precluded him and other employees from taking early retirement and then finding employment elsewhere? I'm saying to you, there is nothing that prevents them from doing that. You can say to me, I am wrong, and point out, where is that rule? Where do we find it? Because then the evidence leaders will go and look it up. You are not answering that straightforward suggestion that I'm putting to you. I'm leaving it at you don't want to give a straight answer. And the reason, and I'll suggest to you why you don't want to have a straight answer, you don't want to give a straight answer, it's because you are aggrieved personally. You are aggrieved that Commissioner Spies is getting the benefit that the rules allow him, that your City of Ekurhuleni resolution allows him to get, and then he's employed elsewhere. While enjoying the benefit, he's employed elsewhere. It's a grievance that you have and nothing more.
I don't think at my level I'll say I'm aggrieved, Commissioner. What I will say is a concern where I've seen that there's a risk, a serious risk, where a person highly possible is receiving a benefit twice. You're sitting at Ekurhuleni, we give you 5,700, you might be getting it somewhere. And I said yesterday, my concern, and with this situation, already in his own medical aid scheme, we're spending more than $1 million. There's about 4 or 5 of them where this is happening. And I said, I picked up this as misleading. I've changed my wording. And I said, it's something that the city, we must look at and correct it. I wouldn't call it a grievance, but I will call it that at my level, I should be concerned, taking to cognizance that the country has got high employment rate. Any cent that gets out of Ekurhuleni, it should be useful and gainfully utilized somewhere else. And
so he misled City of Ekurhuleni when he exercised the right to early retirement, because remember you say there's a resolution that allows him to do this, to retire early and to get the benefits. You're saying when he exercised that right, that is the misleading you're talking about, because I'm trying to understand what you're saying he misled you about.
Yes, when you know you're resigning, you're going somewhere, because you know, let's say for instance, and again I've said initially that inferences, they tend to be biased because they're based on you subjectively how you perceive and see the matter.
You're saying your inferences here are biased. You infer he was misleading. Is that what the switch you keep repeating about inferences?
The notion on my side, based on the documents, that firstly, if we'll allow every person to adjust the document themselves with a pen, I don't think will be correct.
Okay.
So to me, firstly, that is very wrong what he did here. Number two, you are saying you're going to sit at home. I guarantee you, you're right, I'm saying it's my notion, and it's a concern that if it's not corrected, highly possible, if there was not this issue, you'd have just said, I'm resigning, I'm going somewhere, So it's a concern that I have based on my inferences that they need to be looked at. And before I left the city, I was in a process of revising that particular policy, because if it's not looked at, Chair, we're going to have people that are leaving after 55 and go somewhere else and work, and we keep on bearing the cost unnecessarily.
Okay, so that's a problem of the city. It's not Commissioner Species' problem. It's a problem of the city that you have a policy that permits people to go to early retirement, get the benefit, and it doesn't say, your policy doesn't say, but you may not be employed elsewhere. So it's not his issue. It's your issue, and an issue that you as HOD should be addressing, not make it the employee's problem. And that's what I'm debating with you, that it seems it is in fact grossly unfair on employees who act in accordance with what your policies allow or do not preclude, and then you come here in front of the public, you accuse them of fraud, corruption, and then you water it down, it becomes they misled the municipality. Fix your policy. You're head of HOD. Change your policy so that it says if you take early retirement, you may not be employed as well anyway, otherwise we'll take our benefit back. That's a city issue, it's not a space issue.
Chair, through you, I did say that I accept it's a risk that I've identified and that needs to be corrected, because the risk that I've identified that employees now are starting to create this fraud. And I took it.
It's not a fraud. No,
apologies with that word.
Mr. Gxasheka,
apologies with that word. I think what keeps on confusing me, Chair, is him correcting the form. I think that's why you're not supposed to correct the form to suit what you want. And as I say, if we were to allow that, we all adjust the forms to suit us, it would be wrong. But Chair, I'm changing that the form. It's corrected when it should have been. It was misleading. And the letter as well, it was talking about early retirement.
My problem with you is saying he was misleading. It's a very serious statement. I don't know if you appreciate the consequence of what you are saying right now, that he misled his previous employer. I've asked you, point out where he misled, and we shouldn't allow you to say things that are not backed up by your documents. You've told us council resolution allows people to go on early retirement and to get these benefits, right? You've said that. 2, you haven't pointed out a council resolution or policy or rule that says they may not be employed after that. So you've got a gap. I accept that. You've got a gap, it seems, given your view about it. There's a gap, and I'm saying to you, you cannot say, and it's actually wrong and offensive to employees who use a benefit that is given to them by the city without restriction to say they commit a fraud, they commit corruption, they are misleading. That you use the word misleading doesn't make it any less serious. So I'm quarreling with you for that reason, that no employee who takes this benefit, which by law, your law being a resolution, they are entitled to, which doesn't say they cannot find employment anywhere else, they go and get employment elsewhere. You cannot say that there was any misleading by them, and it's simply wrong for you to do that.
Chair, as I said, we are learning. I will withdraw if I need to withdraw on this in the context of what I've shared with the Commission. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Gxasheka. I think it's a fair concession that you make. Thank you.
I think we've reached the stage at which we should adjourn until 9:30 on Monday. Let's adjourn.